you seen Star Wars?
It seems like just yesterday, it was May 4th, and we were getting the premiere for the Bad Batch series, and it was 70 minutes long, and we were looking forward to the future adventures that we'd go on with Omega and the rest of the group of the Bad Batch, and now we're past the halfway point. Now we're in the later half of the season, and it picks up immediately where the last episode left off, which is Cad Bane has kidnapped Omega, and he's trying to take her to the Kaminoans, and we learned a lot about Omega and what makes her unique in this episode, and I think that was a big payoff. I think this episode in general was really good. I don't think it was as great as the last episode, but this also had a lot of very strong moments. I mean, this is one of the best episodes of the series, if not probably number 2. I mean, this has a good case of being the second best episode. Cad Bane, of course, was great to have in it. We even got to see Fennec Shand and him fight and her kind of make another appearance, and we learned a little bit more about her relationships with the Kaminoans. And the Kaminoans really were an interesting aspect of this episode because we know now that Omega is not just some random clone. She is called Omega because Boba Fett was the Alpha in terms of they are both purely and genetically Jango Fett DNA. They both have nothing but Jango Fett in them in their first generation, and I guess that just means great news for both of them. And that's kind of interesting for Omega because, of course, as the Kaminoans look at the clones, they have a lot of value in the clones, even people like the Bad Batch. So maybe continuing the process of cloning is something that they want to bring Omega in for. But we also learned one of the Kaminoans named Nala Se is basically working against her boss, Lama Su, the Chancellor or Prime Minister of Kamino. She is working against him and actively undermining his attempts to kill Omega and capture her, and she wants to keep Omega safe. Now, we don't know if that's because she has a motherly connection to Omega, maybe she feels responsible for all the bad things that is happening to her, maybe she's friends with Omega, or maybe she has some evil plans of her own with Omega. We really don't know, but now we know a little bit more about why Omega is unique. I really don't think it was a very satisfying answer at the moment, but we'll learn that as time goes on. I guess her being a first-generation clone is a big deal. I'm not a big fan of the clones themselves, so it's not really anything I would know about personally, but I do like this episode. I like having Cad Bane in it. I like having him face off against Fennec Shand. The animation is also getting better consistently, it seems. I think we went back to Cloud City in this one. I think it's in Bespin. But one of the scenes that we have with Cad Bane is basically him trying to fight off Fennec Shand, him trying to find Omega. But it all has to deal with this mist and this cloud and smoke that is in his way. And it looks so freaking beautiful. I mean, this episode really does feel more like the Clone Wars that we kind of look back on. I mean, we look back at the Clone Wars with a lot of rose-tinted glasses, but one of the reasons that show worked so well is because we covered so many different stories. This kind of felt like that a little bit. The Bad Batch almost took a back seat in this episode. It wasn't really much about the Bad Batch. It was Omega and what was happening with her. Sure, the Bad Batch showed up, but they showed up at the very end. So basically, most of this episode was focused on Cad Bane, Omega, and Fennec Shand, and I think that was a unique breath of fresh air for this series because we focused so much on the Bad Batch. And one of my co-hosts, the Goldman, on the show that we do called Chatooine, made a good point on the past episode that we did, and he said that it's kind of hard to enjoy the Bad Batch when you look at something like Omega because Omega, if you take her out of the story, has no real impact. There's not a lot that has changed if you look at the past probably 8 episodes now of the Bad Batch series. If you take Omega out, a lot of the stuff that happens to the Bad Batch would still happen. They would still be mercenaries, they would still be on the run, they would still be trying to figure out what to do. So it seemed like Omega didn't have a lot of implications over the story, but now that's no longer the case. After these past 2 to 3 episodes, I think we can all look at her and go, okay, she is going to have a significant impact on the rest of this season. And honestly, we may not even see her in Season 2. I think there's going to be a Season 2 for the Bad Batch coming out next year, but the way things are going, I would not be surprised if she doesn't stick around for Season 2, just because if we get some closure to her arc in this season, if we learn everything about her, is there any room for growth for her in the Season 2? Maybe. To me, this episode felt like what the Bad Batch should have been doing for every single episode. I don't dislike this series, but there are a lot of complaints that I've had about it so far. Recently, the past 2 to 3 episodes of The Bad Batch have really picked up the story, and I feel like they're almost setting the stage for a grand finale, because I was kind of curious if they were going to get Omega back so soon. I really didn't think they were going to deal with her until a couple episodes later. They immediately got her back, so that's kind of a good sign for The Bad Batch, and I know they said at the end, oh, we're not going to go to Kamino and you're never going to have to go there again. We all know that's foreshadowing. We all know probably by the end of this season we are going back to Kamino. But now the question is, now that we know more about Omega and pretty much everything that we need to know about our heroes in the story, I feel like we should focus a little bit more on the villains going forward. Crosshair and what's happening to him with his damages, Cad Bane, if he's still going to be around, that would be really cool. Fennec Shan, even though she's kind of like a anti-hero in this situation because we know what her motivation is at this point. But I feel like focusing on the Kaminoans, focusing on the Empire going forward, is going to set the stage for a really good finale, because that's one thing this series needs to focus a little bit more on, and that's the villains. I need a good villain in the series, and I thought Tarkin was going to be it, and it turns out it wasn't Tarkin. It turns out it was supposed to be Crosshair, who is okay, but he's only in every other episode, so I think we should focus on them a little bit more going forward, and that would probably round the series in a very good and satisfying way. But now that we're 9 episodes into the series, we're getting close to that home stretch mark, and I think things are going to pick up. Maybe 1 or 2 filler episodes, quotation marks on that, in the next few episodes that we have, but I really feel like they're starting to hone in the story and probably build up to what I said earlier, a big grand finale for Season 1. So tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you guys think about today's episode, Episode 9, Lost Bounty? Did you like it? Did you not? And tell me why you did or did not in the comment section below. And what do you think is going to happen next in the Bad Batch series? Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment, or subscribe, because it does help out the channel. If you want to become an Only fan, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel, hit that notification icon, and you're going to stay up to date on the latest news in Star Wars. I'm Star Wars Only. It's been real, guys. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.